I'm here with Syed Ali, who is a professor of sociology for Long Island University in Brooklyn, and he is also the co-author of a book called The Peer Effect, all about how your peers impact who you will become and who you are. So welcome. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so one of the things that caught my eye as a parent is that when I got your email, the blurb that this all begins with says, for decades, parents have asked their children, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you? And the answer is, of course, duh, yes. So can you talk to me a little bit about the peer effect? To your point, parents have known about this forever. But why do you think it's so important right now to think about this peer effect and the way some poor behaviors or poor choices or people who make poor choices can impact society at large?
Sure. I think one of the big problems is that we as parents and leaders in all realms, right, police chiefs and executives, we have this idea that we have control over our kids and over our, people who work for us and, like underneath us. And it's not true. Like, to a large degree, like children, just talking about children for a moment, as soon as they hit daycare, they're out of our control. And we like to think, they'll do what we say. But implicitly, as parents, we understand that's not true, because we spend so much time worrying about who they're hanging out with and what school to send them to. And that's acknowledging that, like, if we really had the power, we would tell them, do this, don't do that, and they would do this and wouldn't do that. But we know that they are going to do those things. And so we have an understanding, I think largely that among kids anyway, that there is this peer effect, but it's also true in other forms, right? It's true in the workplace. So, you look at Google and they have this, wonderful HR department and great HR page, and it looks so great, and this is the Google way, and we have this Google culture, but the cultures are made among the people in the group. So, like, in the schools you have the kids and the cliques, and they have their own way of doing things and their own culture, and the teachers and the administrators and parents all like to think we're going to make changes and they're going to do these things. But unless the kids themselves are willing to do it, you can say all you want and they're not going to. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, so speaking about work culture and peer effect, impacting how people behave. You mentioned something that really caught my attention, and that was some of the misdeeds that are happening in the banking industry, that we're watching unfold in the news or have watched recently unfold. The first thing, that comes to mind for me is, of course, the Sam Bankman-Fried case that we've been watching. Could you explain to me how the peer effect may have been, part of what happened in terms of bankers behaving poorly?
Yeah, you look at what's happening with FTX, and it looks, obviously I don't have, privy info inside, but from the outside it looks like you have these people who, right, they came together at Effective Altruists and Jane Street trading and all that, and they have very similar ideas of how the world and how their crypto banking and stuff, investing should work, and they create their own norms within that firm of behavior, and they, from the kind of testimony that we're seeing, Carolyn Ellison and Gary Wang, and like they've admitted that in the end we did wrong, but at the time they were doing it, and they did it for like a long time, right? This kind of alleged fraud that's been going on, but it was fine to them, right? Like this kind of norm of doing those things, and you develop this kind of culture within a firm, within an organization of, these are the things that we do, these things that we don't do, and there are rewards and punishment for them. And while you may have laws that regulate these things, if the norms within that culture of the firm are such that it's going to allow that to happen, it'll happen. Stephen Dimick, who's this researcher, wrote a really interesting article in the Harvard Business Review some years ago about intra-firm transfers, and traders who had investment bankers who had allegations of misconduct and had settled arbitrations against them. When they moved from one branch to another, the rate of misconduct among the people in the branch that received these investment bankers went up 37%. And if they were people of the same ethnicity, which, we're talking about banking, so we're talking white people, and we're talking white men mostly, that goes up almost double. So it's an increase of 75% roughly of misconduct, and that's huge, right? And this is really, to me, this is the peer effect. Is like you're learning from your peers what's acceptable and what's not.